folks, Ray from DCRainmaker.com here. Today I'm going to give you an updated tour of the DCR Cave and studio. Just this past weekend we held the DC Rainmaker open house. A lot of folks from all over the world to come in and check things out. So I know that you at home didn't have a chance to do that, so I figured now's a good time to go ahead and walk through what's changed since the last time I gave a tour, which was about 2 years ago, as well as sort of the kind of lay of the land of things and what I liked and didn't like. So let's go ahead and get on started. So here we are indoors. Now this space is actually shared by both myself and the girl, otherwise known as my wife, and she runs a cake studio up here, and I run the entire DCR stuff downstairs. So as you might expect from kind of a cycling focused household, we have here bike helmets there, we've got kind of running stuff in here, so this is a Camelback for running, running shoes, bike gloves, bike pump, commuter bike. And then, of course, now we've transitioned over to baking, and we have baking stuff. So this allows us to go ahead and allows her to go ahead and do all the baking she needs for big events. This space is primarily used for catering events and for kind of custom orders, wedding cakes, stuff like that. Things you see in the window there. Here is a Christmas tree from this past weekend. So we use this for the open house and did a bunch of prizes underneath of it. And then, of course, we've got ovens and the unboxing table. So if you ever see my reviews, all of the unboxing stuff happens here on this particular table. And I've kind of swapped back and forth with different stuff before. We used to have this table kind of in the window here for display and stuff, and then I stole it and now it's mine. So with that, let's go and head on downstairs, which is my whole area. There is an office that we share in that behind that door there with the big pink fluffy thing on it, but that is a complete disaster, so I won't be sharing that. A couple years ago, I guess 3 years ago exactly, they had this Le Tour poster, a Tour de France poster. They were giving away at one of the local shops. It's pretty cool, so we picked it up there, and then the girl framed it for me. It's a nice little kind of memento of that summer. So these stairs here, by the way, everything has to go up and down these tiny little stairs. Trainers, treadmills, bikes, everything. You can see the marks on the wall from the bikes making this corner right there. So the bikes go up and down all the time, and I've given up on trying to keep the bikes from hitting. So into the cave we are. So here we are. This is the whole of DCR Cave. It's really not that big. I think folks kind of this weekend commented that they were surprised at how small it is. I know it probably looks sort of big on the screen there, but it's not big at all. You just imagine like this is a bike link there. You got one, maybe one behind it, and maybe another one up here. Not a lot of space. So we're going to start left to right and kind of walk through the whole thing here. In this corner, I've got my drone stuff. So I started adding this a couple days ago, just before the open house, as a way to organize all the drone stuff I've got. So these are some of the drones, not all of them. So you can see I've got 3 different Phantoms there. The Phantom 2, 3, and 4. I've got an AirDog up there. I've got a Hexo. I've got the now recalled GoPro Karma. I probably will send that back at some point, but right now I'm kind of keeping it like as a historical artifact, I think, more than anything else. So that's that piece down here. I've got this screen. Let me go ahead and change the white balance here so we're back onto the cave white balance. There we go. So I use actually different white balance settings when I'm down here, so I know exactly what the white balance looks like across the entire cave at all times for photography. So I've got the screen here that's hooked up over this Vossa swim trainer. Now normally I would be, doing stuff like you can use trainer row with a Vossa swim trainer, for example, or even TV shows. But right now I've got it on a playlist loop of all my cool drone videos that I've shot over time, mostly with these drones right here. I'll link to that up in up in the corner there. Next, I've got here the water chamber test, or water test chamber. So what this allows me to do is to put a watch inside here. I then fill up the water about halfway or so, and I can use this little automated system there to test waterproofing across a bunch of different levels. So I can basically do an automated test sweep of like 5 meters to 50 meters and back down again, and repeat it over and over and over again as long as I want. It's pretty darn cool. I don't have water in it right now because it kind of rusts. You can sort of see the rust on the edge of the pole there. So I just put water in when I need to. Again, I'll link to a video up in the corner there if you want to see how that works in depth, quite literally in depth. In between there, I've got a bunch of tripods. This is where I stash all my tripods, and also the phone down there in the rare event it rings. This is a simple Wi-Fi extender. Since we are legitimately underground, the Wi-Fi signal is absolutely horrible, and so I use that to extend upstairs. Over here is mostly charging. So I've got here a USB charging. It's got 13 ports on it, 14 ports actually. So right now I've got a Edge 1000 in there. I've got these orbs. I use these a lot. Cycling lights, just simple lights. and they charge via USB. Over here I've got kind of an old media server I don't really use anymore. I'm not really sure why it's still sitting there, but it is. Down below, this is purely micro and mini USB charging cables. That is it. So that's the only type of things that are in there, micro, mini USB, and then the charging blocks for the wall. This entire bin is full, and there's probably like 60, 70 cables in there. And down to the right is all drone extra parts and charging stuff. So you can see Phantom 2 and 3 drone parts there, as well as AirDog parts and charging cables. Next, I've got kind of one of many piles of trainers around here. So this pile is just two that happen to fit in the corner there. We'll talk more about trainers in a moment. And then I've got all of my bibs for mostly my European races since I've been here. So most of these are French races. So there are some, here's one up from the UK. Let's see, I'm sure there's an Italian one in here as well from the marathon in Italy. But again, mostly French races or European races in general. Okay, and next we have all the bins. The bins are where the magic happens. So down at the bottom here, we have the big device bin. So this is basically where I keep all the watches. And so you'll see in here, for example, the 310 XT, old Timex watches, Mio Alpha, even the Core Collector, for example. So it's actually cool in this, you can order it with your name on it. So I ordered mine with DC Rainmaker, and so on. This is just purely watches. That's it. That's all that's in here. There shouldn't be charging cables. This one's in here because it's attached to the Bedit, and so you can't separate it. But you can see, you know, there's Google Glass, there's Recon Jet. I mean, it's all purely devices. Lots and lots of devices in there. Next up, we have not the sensors, but we have the charging cables. So I put all the charging cables here unless they're mini or micro USB, in which case they are in that pile back over there. So I've got the Polar VA100, this looks like the 225, I think. Let's see, this is an old Soleos adapter there, and so on. I mean, everything's in here that you could possibly imagine. The trick is finding it. It's getting a bit full in there, as you can see, and the drawer is definitely kind of at the breaking point. Next, I've got sensors and batteries. So you can see here I've got the 2032 batteries. I mean, these are, I go through these like candy. There's tons of them in here, you know, all over the place. But I've really got lots of random battery types too, so you never quite know what you're going to need. For example, these LR44s or 357s. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, and so you want to have those all the time handy. And then I've got like USB sticks here. Those are older ones, but there's also foot pods like the Polar Bluetooth Smart Foot Pod. That's the Coros controller. That's the Suunto foot pod. You know, here's an old Suunto speed sensor. So again, mostly just sensors and batteries, small things that are easy to lose. Then I've got the GoPro drawer. So this is purely GoPro branded stuff for the most part. I'm not quite sure why the bar flies in there because it's got a GoPro case on it right now. But you know, it's here's a Hero 4, Hero 4 Session, the three-way pole, all the stuff that I've just got in there kind of piled up. That's purely GoPro branded as opposed to just being a generic action camera. This is more the generic action camera pile. So this is things that aren't GoPro. So example, this Kodak 360 action camera, that's horrible. The Polaroid Cube, that's horrible. Whatever this was that I bought, that was also horrible. This is the Gyropic 360 camera, again, horrible. I don't want to say this drawer is just horrible, because like there's a TomTom cam in here and that's pretty decent. But most of the other things are horrible. Then we've got purely Garmin Verb accessories. So mostly things that are Verb branded, except the random GoPro dog mount that's in there because it wouldn't fit in the GoPro drawer. And I've also got, I guess, a 360 camera in there from them, from V360. But again, here's some Verbs and mostly Verb stuff. Next, we've got Garmin parts. So this is mostly Garmin stuff. I've got a Garmin Vector, radar, quick release kits, you know, their mount system, more quick release kits, fabric strap kits, mostly just Garmin branded stuff that's accessory wise, not watches. Then up here we have bike computer mounts. So the goal here is to have things that attach to my bike that may mount something to them. Here's a watch, a phone case I've made. Here's a Garmin silicone strap, obviously down below. You know, things aren't quite perfect, they just are where they are. This is the Quark collector adapter kit that goes onto the bike. Again, lots of stuff, mostly bar flying cage on there. Then I've got purely heart rate straps. Like this is all heart rate straps, tons and tons and tons of heart rate straps of all varieties. So I'm always trying to double check or test things. I can just grab something on there and validate it works. This is sort of the blend of like random tools and some photography stuff. So you see, for example, this gimbal here, a couple of random lenses in here, but also tools like to take apart things and to dissect stuff is also here as well. Again, more of a blend of mostly camera stuff with a couple random tools like the screwdriver, but just a lot of lenses and flashes and just camera gear primarily. I'm not sure why it's not closing. Something's in the way down below. We'll come back to that, I guess. And then up here is mostly tools with a side of camera stuff. So you can see, for example, this LED light there. But again, it's stuff like, you know, screwdrivers and tape measures and X-Acto blades and all that kind of jazz I need there, even light bulbs. It all kind of fits into there. And I'm going to have to fix this drawer because it's driving me crazy. There we go. It's down below there. Something got caught. Okay, up here is cable-y type stuff and mostly just empty boxes. There's not much in here box-wise. It's just kind of all there. So a lot of the boxes I keep here are things that I've just, you know, for the heck of it, like the Mavic Pro box is empty now. I've used that. The Apple Watch boxes, I'm pretty sure, are empty. All this is basically stuff I've bought over time and just sort of piled up here. You know, sometimes there'll be reviews on things and sometimes there won't. So, for example, this LG watch, the Samsung Gear Live, there isn't necessarily a review on them, but I usually buy a lot of things just to try them out and see how they work. And so that's kind of a lot of things that end up on these shelves or things that I've bought that I may try or have tried and I've sort of been waiting. I've got simply tools there lined up on the board. And then I've got this is to measure distance on the road, bike pump, a smaller distance measuring tape behind it. And then more drawers. This is mostly trainer parts and kind of bike, like mechanical parts. The same for the next drawer down below it. You can see some cranksets in there. And then down below it's kind of blocked right now, but also mostly like bike mechanical parts. Moving over here, we've got this really cool watch display that my father-in-law made me. So allows me to go ahead and just have all these older watches mostly lined up here. So for the most part, these are kind of like a historical display. And behind that, I've got my swim stuff, so my swim bag there, and some race helmets from the girl and I. And then over in the corner are all my media badges from various events, just piling up stacks and stacks and stacks of them. And drop cam up there, we use that across the board. And then we got bikes mounted to the wall. So there's two different mount systems here. I've been trying lately the Elite TACA system, which is actually pretty cool. Like, it works well, it snaps it in there, it's definitely more secure. In the past, I've been using these cube systems here, which are fine, but you can see how like the girl's bike is slightly tilted there. What seems to happen over time is this will eventually fall off the wall when the air pressure gets low enough, and I've just gotten really frustrated with them that they're fine like if you want to use them for display purposes, but I'm constantly moving trainers and stuff around here and I'm always hitting them, and bikes are always falling apart and are falling off the wall. Super frustrating. So I don't really use that anymore. I'm kind of trying to shy away from them and put new ones in. Next we got trainers. This is basically a rotating door of new trainers into the cave for test. So you can see back there we got two trainers from Elite right now, the Elite Kura and the Elite Drivo. I've got the Tax Neo, got the Wahoo Kicker 2, got the Cyclops Hammer, this Tax Flux. Two different bikes of mine here. It's a road bike and a tri bike, so I'm basically using both of these throughout testing. And I've also got a road bike in the back corner that's mine there, and then the tri bike is the girls. But you know, they're just different bikes use different things. Here is how I go ahead and compare power meters or trainers for accuracy. I've got pretty much just a row of Garmin head units that I line up. That's kind of one method. I'll talk about the second method in a moment. And I'll record all of them at once. This is just a converted microphone stand, so really nothing too fancy there. I just use that and I can put these, you know, quick release mounts on them, and I'm good to go. And then I've also got the kicker desk there that I use. I love this because it's got these slots here for putting the phones and cables and stuff, so I can go like this and just, you know, put the iPad there, my laptop on top of it, run the cables down below behind it, and I'm good to go. Now the second way I do power measure accuracy is with the WASP system. So if you look up here, up in the wrappers, if you will, this big pipe, I've got this power Ethernet, basically AMP+ to Wi-Fi converter, and we'll go ahead and pick up all the AMP+ signals around it, and it converts it down to an app that I can pick up on my smartphone and then record all that data at once. So that's one way I do that, but a lot of times for just simplicity's sake, I use simply these edge units. Next, we got the table hiding all the crap below it. This is literally just like I'm out of space, so things get stuck down there. I've got a ton of weight scales there, mostly Wi-Fi weight scales. I've got like a GoPro bag there, and looks like a drill, and just random like clothing and stuff is down there. Up on top here is sort of like a staging area really for me. So I've got this slider here with the tripod head on it. I usually put this on the tripods over on the other side of the room there. I've got this new supercharger, USB charger, that I've been using a lot lately. This is really cool because it has a bunch of ports that are actually 2.0 amps, so I can charge really fast, a ton of things at once. It plugs in the wall, and it's small enough that I can travel with it, so I've actually been taking that traveling a lot. Wireless mics that I use, and then this is sort of the bag that I travel with gear-wise. So I pile all my gear into this bag and need to throw this in my check luggage. So this is kind of random things from my last trip. This goes on the GoPro backpack, for example. I had a 425 with me, so doing comparative shots to 435, time-lapse thing for the GoPro, and so on. And then up here are just kind of boxes that are either coming in or going out, or one of the two, to sort through. This is sort of the box of random crap, so not like crap per se, but just stuff I'm not really sure what to do with. For example, Kinetic with their smart trainer sent the tire there, and they sent heart rate strap, but as we sort of talked about earlier, I have a couple heart rate straps already, so I'm pretty much good there. Okay, so next up here we have my TV. This I hook up mostly to the treadmill or the trainer, depending on what I'm doing, different apps for that. Right now I have in the Zwift watch only mode. You know, if like you have a bike shop and you don't have this in the corner of your bike shop near your trainers and stuff, you're missing out. Like, this is the best screensaver on earth. It's just picking random people and following them. It's literally that simple. It follows them for a few seconds and moves on to the next person. And so this is the person I'm happen to be following right now. It's super cool. Like, why wouldn't you have it as a bike shop? In this case, what I had during the open house, and it's kind of a great way to distract people. So then we have the treadmill here. Nothing fancy. It's basically a treadmill that hooks up to the internet though, and so I can have, this is the keyboard for the computer. And so, you know, it can download different programs and stuff like that to it, but it's pretty straightforward. There's no fancy display on or anything like that, but I can control the incline automatically based on program modes I have. Down here in the corner, I've got simply the computer for Zwift, as well as rollerblades and a bunch of bike wheels and stuff like that, and of course the fan. Last but not least, you may have just noticed a second ago, the reflection on the wall is from these lights, so I use these kind of studio lights up here to go ahead and get a bit more light down here. I have these lights up here in the ceiling, but they're really not all that bright. I know they are if I'm pointing it at it, but otherwise it's not. Oh, and the traffic light, one last light. So this is the decibel meter tester that I use all the time for trainer audio tests. So you can hit that video in the corner up there to see more about it. But basically this allows me to do kind of a really simple decibel meter between, you know, a quiet trainer, a not so quiet trainer, and then a really loud trainer. Eventually that would trigger over there. So that is pretty much it. I'll show you one last thing here, is the exciting bathroom. So this is the DCR bathroom, if you will. It's got more trainers in it because I literally have no room for trainers. I've got trainers in the closet there to the right, and I've got trainers in that left-hand door there that goes into the tunnels, the cave underneath the building, and another storage area in there. So there's just trainers everywhere. But it's cool, they do have a shower in here, so I can go ahead and do runs and rides and just shower right there and be done. Okay, that wraps things up here in the DCR Cave. Thanks for watching. Go and whack that like button as well as the subscribe button. And if you've got any questions on things that you may have seen here in the cave, feel free to drop a comment down below and I'll try to go ahead and answer that. Also in the comments section or in the description section there, I've linked to a bunch of things that you may have seen in the cave in terms of like the USB chargers and stuff like that. You may be wondering where those come from. I put them all there down below. Have a good one.